The Northern Territory government will reinstate alcohol bans in Alice Springs town camps and other communities. The decision follows weeks of pressure over escalating crime rates in the Central Australian town. Let's go live now to the Northern Territory Shadow Health Minister for Remote Housing and Town Camps, Bill Yarn. Thanks so much for your time, Bill. This is not permanent, but certainly we saw the Chief Minister not backing down yesterday. What do you think of this interim measure?
Good morning, Laura. Look, we certainly welcome the interim alcohol restriction measures that are put in place. There are a number of people that were really vocal about the removal of these measures back in June and July last year and allowing the rivers of grog to flow back into our communities and town camps. And sadly, we've seen the hurt and misery across the territory that caused. So the interim restrictions we see now on the restriction takeaway is great. But the further restrictions back to that stronger futures type restrictions where it's for the town camps and, of course, some of those communities having alcohol restrictions placed on those will immediately, hopefully, alleviate some of the pain and suffering we're seeing to our women and children out in those communities, but also, hopefully, we'll look to see a reduction in some of those crime levels we're seeing in our urban areas. But the thing is, at the end of the day, I'm really quite angry about what took place last year. When you consider that the opposition, most of the peak Aboriginal bodies, most of the health peak bodies, and of course the Northern Territory Police told the Northern Territory government if they remove the Stronger Futures legislation without any safety nets in place, without any assistance to those communities and town camps, we were going to see what we've seen over the last 6 months. And that falls squarely at the feet of the Territory Files Labor government. They're responsible for the hurt and pain in our communities, and now they've finally had to turn around and backflip on that decision that they made last year and actually admit that there is a problem taking place in the Territory. But what the government hasn't done, they haven't come out and apologised to all those people in our community that have been affected by the decisions that they made last year.
Yep, they don't even admit there's missteps along the way, and we can see that there have been. Otherwise, we wouldn't be talking today, to be frank with you, Bill. Look, Natasha Files is pushing ahead with this ballot. How's that going to work? And why is she so hell-bent on this, do you think? Because my understanding was that caucus didn't really love the idea, but Natasha Files is really determined to make sure, I guess, there's some ownership within the Aboriginal camps and they're owning the decisions that do affect them. But do you have concerns about the ballot?
I certainly do have concerns about a ballot. If you're asking people who are having alcohol issues or may be addicted to alcohol to vote on whether they should have alcohol in their communities, that's a problem straight up. And also the coercion of some people against others to vote in support of bringing alcohol back into those communities and town camps will be an issue as well. But I see it really quite simply as the government and Natasha Files trying to absolve themselves from having to make any decisions and any decisions that may be unpopular. It's time now for our leaders to step up and our leaders to make decisions that sometimes may not be popular for the entire community. And look, every decision you make is never going to be 100% popular, but the government need to step up and take some leadership on this matter rather than trying to deflect any issues away from themselves and drop it back onto the people in the communities and the town camps.
That's true. We're going to speak to Robin Lambley about this in just a moment. Can I ask you about the Voice just quickly as well? Parliament's back in Canberra. This is certainly on the agenda, if not the entire agenda at the moment. We heard from Jacinta Price and she said essentially, don't wish to verbal her, but the position of the Country Liberal Party would be her position, which is not to support the Yes campaign. Is that right?
Well, it's not something I've heard from the party. But at the end of the day, so the Voice is going to be it's a national campaign. I said everybody in the territory will get to have their vote on it. Look, I'll support any mechanism that gives the people, the marginalised people in our town camps and our communities, a say and a voice as to what happens in those communities and those town camps. At the moment, they don't have that. And I've not heard anything from the federal government of how a voice will give those people any assurances that things will change for them out in the bush and on those town camps. So the federal government needs to get out. They need to get out on the ground, and they need to be telling the people out in the bush what the voice is going to mean for them and what changes it will make and what positives it will have on their lives going into the future. We certainly haven't heard that at the moment, but I tell you what, if they can get out there and they can give those assurances to the people in the bush, then they'll certainly have my support on it.